Coach Springer. The Georgia 6A state dual champions, South Effingham. First, Coach, how does it sound?
I don't know. I mean, I almost want to cry when you say it. We've had so much excitement yesterday and today. We had a parade leaving school, a parade coming back, and like I don't know if me and the kids have just been in a whirlwind. That it just is something that over the summer we knew we were going to do, I think, but I just still really can't believe it fully until I just like maybe see it up somewhere else. But it sounds awesome, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, it is awesome. And 6A, looking at kind of everything, it was the one classification that, you looked around across the landscape and you're like, there's a lot of pretty close teams. This is going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. And you guys came in as the 2 seed, but I think you came in with a lot of confidence. At least it seemed like you did.
Yeah. The seating meeting, it's just so weird. I don't know how to even put it in words. When the seating meeting happened and we had number 2, the way I felt about it is that factually we should have been 1 or 2 with the data that we had.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're down in South Georgia, there's this Atlanta thing that goes on up there where I think a lot of the coaches, a lot of the teams up there just think, and they got the clubs up there that we don't have. And I think I always just felt like I was going to get kind of like not get respected as a 2 seed, and we would just get pushed to a 3, 4, or 5 just because of our name. And I was so proud of the seating committee because they looked at the facts, they looked at who we wrestled, looked at what we did, and I did everything I was told to do. I went to Atlanta, I went to Florida, I went to South Carolina,
right?
I wrestled, I won our region, I did everything I was told to do, and it actually worked out exactly the way it should have. And I think I was surprised. And to get the 2 seed, I really was. I mean, we were like 33-2 on paper. Woodward was, I think they had like 12-0, and they argued the 2, 3, 4. And in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I know that's a good team. They got a great coach. North Forsyth's a great team. They got a great coach. Creekview is always in there. And I'm just thinking someone's going to say, oh, it's South Effingham. They're overrated. We'll put them at a 5 or something like that. And that's really the way I thought it was going to happen. And when we got the 2, I just remember going, holy cow, we got the respect I think we deserved or we earned at that point, and now we got to
go out and prove it, right?
Got to go and prove it. Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. And to be fair, I think that again, like you said, it's a little bit of comparing apples and oranges in different places. But I knew the team coming in, but I knew some of the individuals. I didn't know the team as a whole, and I knew you guys had lost to Buford last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking to myself, this is a team that could be coming into the season really quietly, really good, and and I think that you demonstrated it by the season itself, by going to the different places and being really competitive against some really good teams from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the message to the kids heading into Saturday?
The strategy, I think like last summer, I just remember, I think a lot of people thought I was crazy because last year we had my first state champ that I had coached since 8th grade with Jacob Galindez. And when he left, I think there's a lot of people that just thought that that was it. We finished 5th at traditional. We lost to Buford. We were probably a Final 8 team. But I just remember in the middle of summer, I remember telling just people, they thought I was crazy. I was like, we're going to be really good 1 through 14. We're going to have 14 good weights. I might not have a state champ on my team. And I don't know if I do or not. We'll see in the next few weeks.
Right.
But I knew 1 through 14 in the summertime. We went to Newberry Duels. We went 15-0, and we beat Brunswick and it's a summer tournament. But it was like, that was where like the kids go, okay, maybe this crazy coach knows what he's talking about a little bit. And we just that was the pinnacle of, let's just get to the weights we need to be at. Let's get through fall football because that just throws a wrench in a lot of things. And, we went into Saturday. I just told the kids, I'm like, if you got to look at our team, like physically, we're just the most unimpressive physically looking team. I told the kids all year, we're never going to be the strongest team ever. I got one kid at 190, William Christmas, who looks like a stud. But other than that, we just look like a bunch of soft kids. And I said, I've been saying this for 2 or 3 years. The better wrestler always wins, not the strongest, not the fastest. We have to out wrestle people in positions and go 6 minutes, and we will win. And that's what I said for the last 2 years. And kids just didn't believe it. I have kids that wrestled really big kids this weekend that were a little bit intimidated physically. And then halfway through the match, they're like, "Oh my God, I can beat this kid." And I said, "That's because we're a better wrestling team. And we just have to wrestle 6 minutes." And then our strategy was we can't get pinned. And when I tell you to go get a major attack or a pin, I know you can do it because I know the matchup. And that's how we got to win this thing. And that's what we did. We went in and, at our region title where we beat Brunswick, when we beat Jackson County, it was the same thing. The guys who are studs, you got to go out and get a 6, 5, or 4. And if you are in a matchup, I need you to fight to stay off your back.
So
And that is
one of the things that was really impressed me in looking through it, and I went back and I was in Florida for the Florida State duels, but one of the things that impressed me is I went back and watched a lot of the matches, is that your team won in a lot of different ways. Like in the opening match against
oh man,
Lassiter,
that's
you
crazy.
you put up pins. I mean, you had 8 falls, and your kids were just getting pins. And we turn around against Creekview, and you get 1 fall,
Oh
and your
man,
kids just grind out wins.
it was crazy because all the interviews I've done, I can't pinpoint. I don't even like putting names out there because you're exactly right. I mean, like where we struggled with would be 75, 90, 215, because these are my football players who are football first, wrestler second. But yet in Creekview, when I had some really bad luck at 38 and 44, it went real bad for me. I'm like, oh my God, we might lose this. And then all of a sudden, 75, 90, 215 pulls out wins. And I'm like, holy cow, that's insane. And then we go against North Forsyth. I was actually more confident because I'm like, holy cow, we're going to win 106, 113, 120. And we
Right.
haven't won those matches in a while. And so it was just so
Well,
cool to watch people step up.
I think you talked about it earlier, and that is it's a team. I mean, it's
Yes.
14 weights. It may not be a stud here or whatever, but 14 kids who will go to battle at the right
Yes.
weights for you. That's what makes duels special.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's always like as a coach, I guess that's always my philosophy. I'm kind of a team duel guy because it's easy to sell. The kids buy into it. And then the traditional is more of, okay, you've done your job being a good teammate. Now let's help each other win individual state titles. And I just think that as a teacher and as a coach and as a retired military guy, I can sell the team thing a lot. And we're always going to be a decent 1 through 14. But again, I don't know if I have any state champs on the team. I mean, we go into traditional, I think I'm going to take a bunch of kids to state,
And we'll
and they're
see
going to
where
bust their butt,
right.
and we'll see what happens. But honestly, I don't, other than really my son at 132 and maybe my heavyweight, right now, we got some work to get into a state finals. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But as a team, man, it was amazing. It was super
So
cool.
I just want to walk through the North Forsyth duel for people who
Yeah.
don't necessarily know. They get up by 3, you guys get 10 back, then they take the next 10 points, it's 13-10. And then you had, Ashton Tootle and Enrique Santana and McFarland, and they get you wins, especially your 175 pound.
Oh, oh my God.
I mean,
It's
come
his
on.
6th overtime match of the year for
Oh, is
Demine
it
McFarland.
really?
Oh, 6th overtime of the year. He is a
Are
one-to-one
is he gonna
guy.
give you a heart attack?
He's been in 3 ultimate tiebreakers. And so Demayan is a kid that I coached football in middle school 3 years ago. Did not wrestle all last year due to injury. And his freshman year, he didn't wrestle varsity until he won a wrestle off before the region tournament and qualifies for state.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's probably wrestled 7 or 8 matches total in the last 2 years. Probably one of our smartest kids on the team academically. Like he's a genius. And we go through these matches where you're like, it's 1-to-1. And that kid he wrestled was a stud. And Demayan has been wrestling like just a few years, and he goes to overtime and gets the win against a kid that was on paper much better than him.
Right, right.
And it was just like, but we've been through it so many times. My assistant coach, who is an amazing guy, Coach Chris Hobbs, he's been with the program forever. He's kind of like our heavyweight guy. When I'm spazzing out, going, "Oh my God, we're going to leave it up to these three football players to pull it out for us," he's like, "Coach, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. He's so smart. He's already thought through this, and that's the way he wants it to go." And it was crazy. And then Ashton Tootle weighs in at like 154. He wrestles 165 for me all year, and just goes out, and he's got a dad bod, and he's just a hardworking, tough kid, one of the Tootle triplets that we have. And
Yeah,
he's just a fighter. He just
yeah.
goes out and fights dudes. And like, he's not athletic, he's not strong, he's not fast. He just fights it out. And
But
it's just
he's a grinder.
he's a grinder, man. I mean, it's just so amazing. That there's just these tough, ordinary kids that just believe what I told them, which is just come to practice. That's it. That's all we do. I mean, like, I had May River coach to ask me like a week ago, like, what do you guys do? I'm like, nothing. We go to practice in the summer for 2 hours for 3 days a week. We go to a camp together and we just practice. We don't go to clubs. I don't support the clubs in the area. It's just we practice, and that's all we do, and that's all we have is just our high school. And I'm just a big fan of high school coaching and wrestling. I mean, I just want the kids to love their school, be proud of their public school, and just that's just what we preach. It's nothing like tricky at all. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
really basic, and it surprises me even, I guess, that it
So
worked out.
I have to ask you the end of that duel. I mean, the 6 goes to North Forsyth, and you send out your 13 and your 20, and we're tied, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ugh, like
Well,
how on paper, like in the terms of the matchups, were you feeling confident? Like, what were
oh,
you thinking?
so I didn't feel it's crazy because like Lassiter, I kind of knew we were gonna lose the first three,
Right?
and it worked out. Creekview was the one that had me like super stressed out. We at 38 or 38 and 44, I was like, okay, that's not good. We gave up 12 where I thought we were gonna get 12. But for North Forsyth, so something that happened that I don't know if you kind of caught up, but our 106 pounder, Danny Galindez, after he won the Creekview match, basically passed out. And
Oh,
and so
I was
I'm
wondering why
doing
he wasn't in the lineup.
yeah,
I mean,
so
that's all I could see.
I'm doing the breakdown. I'm sitting there. We got an hour and a half for the finals. I'm looking at track wrestling to see what North Forsyth did against Woodward. I'm just bumping and just doing the strategy for it. And then, my booster mom's like, "Hey, Danny Glenn he's done. He can't. He's physically unable, and he just won the last match of the preview." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness! Like I know Danny can win at 106. Like Danny had beaten the Glen Academy kid pretty handily, and the Glen Academy kid beat the North Forsyth kid. So I'm like, I remember just telling my team, like, or in my head, I'm like, we can win at 106, 113, 120. My message to the team was, we have to be alive at heavyweight and we're going to win it. And I said, we just have to stay close because we're going to win for the first time in a very, very long time. We're going to win at 106, 113, and 120. Now, my 113, Steven Tootle, is such a tough kid. But for whatever reason, these last 3 weeks, 13 has been the hammer weight class. And Steven has dropped a bunch of weights or dropped a bunch of matches. He just won a sudden victory match in Creekview. But now I know the matchup really well. And Steven's definitely going to win at 113. And Emilio had beaten the kid at 120 at Georgia games in a folk style match in summer.
Okay.
And so I almost felt like when I got the heavyweight, I remember looking at my coach going, holy cow, man, we're kind of like favored in my mind the next 4 out of 5 matches. And I think we're gonna pull this off. And then my heavyweight goes out and gives a nasty crossface, and it's a flagrant. And I remember going, oh my God, like that might actually like change everything. And he gets the flagrant, gets the pin, and then we go into 106, and I had to send my brand new ninth grader out. And the thing was, we already heard that 106 pounder was not going to wrestle because he broke his fingers. And I think that kid knew that our 106 wasn't going to wrestle, so he went out with broken fingers against our 106 pounder, pinned him pretty
Oh,
quick. And then
yeah,
Stephen
yeah.
went out and got a major. And I remember going, oh my God, we got a major. I go to Emilio. I'm like, bro, I'm not trying to tell you got to win or lose. You just can't get majored or higher against a kid you've already beaten. And I just remember I was pretty confident. And then Emilio goes out there. I look at Nick Sessions, my senior team captain. I'm like, I think we're going to win this. And he actually did. I think he got interviewed by the newspaper or by the TV stations today. Once I said that to him, Emilio gets thrown to his back, and I
Oh,
get this look.
really?
I guess I give this look like this, and Nick goes, "Coach, you had a look like we were dead." And then Emilio fights off his back, and just little by little, just withers away at the kid, and like we just kind of feel it happening. And then he locks a near side cradle in with like 20 seconds, and I think the whole gym just roared up because North Forsyth was 14 miles away. They had an entire student section, but our parents were louder than their student section. And when Amelia locked in this cradle, we knew we were gonna win. It was just like most amazing thing I've ever. And you know, at North Forsyth, I wanted to be a little more. I don't want to say political about it, but you got this South Georgia school. We have no wrestling room. We got duct tape mats. We got no money. We have no clubs, and we're going up against
Well,
Creekview.
now you have a state championship.
Yeah, and we're the only one. So we do, and I didn't even know this until like last night. But in Effingham County, the only state titles they have is Effingham County won a traditional title in 2009, and we just won ours. That's the only team state titles in our county's history. And like every other Georgia county, like we think football's first. And I'm always quoted in the paper saying Effingham County is a wrestling county. We can do a lot with these kids because football is a genetic sport in my mind, and wrestling is for everybody. And I can take any kid who believes in what we're pushing and go to practice for 2 hours a day, a few days a week, and I feel like we can win. And I think any county can do that because of the fact of the way the sport is. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So,
been surreal.
so my final question is,
Mhm.
this is a great team win. I mean, this was 14 kids. What's the message now? Because there's still goals ahead, right?
Yeah.
So what's that message to those kids on Monday or
Well,
Tuesday or whatever it is?
well, I mean, I think so. We're driving in on the bus, and when you look at these pictures that this professional photographer took of us, the joy on our faces in that last duel, and the joy on the parents' faces as we're driving in.
I saw the pictures on Facebook, I think.
I
Yeah.
stopped the bus, and I stopped the bus before we're about to go into our high school parade, and I said, guys, you put so much happiness into your parents' lives. You put so much happiness into your lives, your school's lives, some of your friends, not all your friends, because some of your friends are jealous that you're doing these great things. You've done so much good for so much. You have to remember this in the summertime when those decisions come down to, do I go out and do this or do I go and do this? And I said, this has been the most, I mean, I was in the Army for 25 years. I deployed so many times and done so many great things. And I'm telling these kids, this is like one of the coolest things I've ever been part of. And all we got to do is just do the right thing, say no to the stupid things, and we can do this again. We're going to bring back 10 kids next year on this team with a few kids from my eighth grade. Our middle school just won their first region title. So we have a feeder club that's bringing a bunch of star-studded seventh and eighth graders. My son Bear is a Triple Crown winner 2 years in a row. He comes up. He just won a JV tournament on Monday, and we just got we don't have a lot of kids, but we have a lot of good kids that are coming to our team. And so the message is that we just have to remember the fun on our faces in June, July, and August, and remember, do the right thing and think about that before you do the wrong thing. And because I think like every program, I've lost like one or two kids every year to something so stupid that all these kids text me going, Coach, I wish I would have paid attention, or Coach, I wish I would have stayed out. And I think all of us coaches deal with that. And I think that's why I sometimes get on a soapbox with clubs and high schools. Club coaches don't have to worry about grades and family problems and those things, and we do. And that's the biggest part of my life is not. I mean, running a practice is easy; anybody can do that. But are you going to care about these kids on the weekend or when they call you on a Sunday when their parents are in a fight and give them the love they need? And I think with these kids, My wife and I, my booster parents, have shown that we're going to do whatever we need to help our kids be successful as people. And I think in turn, these very, very working class kids gave all they had yesterday because I think they believe in what we're selling a little bit. And I think that's the best part of what happened with South Effingham High School yesterday.
Well, Coach, I want to be another person to extend the congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
guys and your kids, and look forward to watching them compete in Macon in a few weeks. And yeah, I got goosebumps that, it's so cool to bring home that first dual trophy as
Sure
that
is.
team. I mean, that is so cool.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.